Okay, let me do two things. Okay, so this I'm going to tell you is the text that I want you to illustrate to, okay, which is what we're going to start talking about tonight, okay? So it starts off with this text. If your teacher tells you to bring something from nature for show and tell, she means a hollow stick or a bird's nest or some sparkly rocks. She does not want you to bring an alligator, okay? Now, the reason I picked this text is this is actually from a book, but the book is not illustrated very well, okay? Because I don't want you to be influenced by that. Does that make sense? Okay? Now, this is our layout that we will lay out on watercolor paper, not yet at all. 11 by 17 is this image area. Oh, wasn't sharing my screen, right?
Now it makes more sense.
Yeah. I know. You guys got to tell me. I do that all the time. So here's the text right there, which I put under assignments. I put that text in there, okay? There's the first part of it, and I'm breaking it into two parts on the other page, right? You don't have to do it that way. You can lay it out however you want. Now, so what I'm doing here is this white area is my image area, okay? This gray represents a 1-inch border, which is you just tape it off. I'll get to it when I show you guys how to set up your the actual illustration. So I'm going to show you a couple of things when we're doing this. How to stretch your how to transfer your drawing to your watercolor paper. I'll show you two different ways, and then how to stretch your watercolor paper, and then how to set it up with your tape and everything so it's ready to go. And then that way you can have a really simple border when you're done. Does that make sense? And then you're going to cut it with a straight edge and a razor blade or an X-Acto knife, and then you get a really nice, clean presentation. Okay? Yeah? Laura?
Yep, sounds good.
Have you done watercolor before?
It's been a few years, but yeah, yeah.
You already have some?
They're like finished pieces. They're old. I've only done it in sketchbooks.
No, I mean, you still have your watercolor set?
Oh yeah, totally.
All right, so this dashed line right here down the middle represents your gutter, okay? So in a book, you have to be wary of the gutter because the book dips in like that. You don't want a kid or a character standing on that gutter. It's just going to get sort of screwed up. So try and, design it so you're, it's a bush there or a tree or whatever, something that doesn't matter as much. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
This is as much about design as it is about anything, okay? Now, what I usually do is then I'll take this and let's see. Oh, that's the wrong one. And I'll do this. I'll just take the whole thing and I'll shrink it down. So I've got a bunch on a page. I actually would not usually have, let's do it this way, hang on. Because I created this in Illustrator real quick. Let's do it this way. So it's a little easier for me if I do it this way. So what I would do is take and that, okay? So this is really all I need. So I want to make a new layer here. And there's my border, okay? And I'm going to shrink this down to whatever that is. I'm going to make a few of them. God damn it. Hang on. Don't let me grab it for some reason.
trying to grab the handles?
Yeah, no, this right here. It doesn't usually do that.
No, you have the right one selected. I don't know why it's being weird.
Yeah, it's just being weird. Hang on. Here, I'll just do it this way. It keeps grabbing both things for some reason. It's weird. Hang on.
Click.
No, I should be able to grab it like that. There it goes. And then I'm just going to copy it. I'll copy both.
So when you tape it off and then you trim it, the trimmed size is going to be 11 by 17, or does it have that 1 inch border?
You'll have that 1 inch border.
Got it.
So what happens is that people always do this. They give me the final, and everything's all the way out to the edges of the paper, like a full bleed, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work, okay? You need to have a nice, clean presentation. I had a teacher one time that told me presentation is 75% of your project. I actually think some of that's kind of true. There, finally. Okay. Now, if I a lot of times I'll do this, and I will print out, if I'm doing them, I like to do them with pen, and I'll just print out like 2 or 3, and I have 4 up on a page or however many up on a page, and then I'll just whip them out, or I'll do it like this digitally, okay? So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make a drawing layer. There's a sketch layer right here, okay? So I started screwing around with this earlier. And what I want you guys to start understanding, so I want to talk about a couple things. Here's where people make their mistake on this, because the first thing we got to do is we got to get ideas, okay? And I know that we're talking about one spread, one scene in a book, okay? So I know that scene can't explain everything in the book. I understand that, but I wanted to explain this scene, obviously, okay? I think in this case, what I want you're going to have to work to a more children's booky style, okay? And part of the reason I do that is because you need to be able to sort of work in different styles, because we'll go through different styles in this class, okay? So that's why I'm asking you to do that. You have to sort of put aside, there's a couple of different ways that illustrators work. Some of them are freelance illustrators, and people come to them for their style, okay? So if you have a really edgy style, political edgy style, they're probably not going to come to you for a children's book, because they're like, that's not the style we're looking for, okay? Or if you're somebody like me who's worked across a lot of different places, then you come in and you're working in a lot of different styles, because you might be working on Disney product, or you might be working on Nickelodeon product, or Cartoon Network, or whatever, okay? Then you have to jump into those styles. And then also people come to me and go, hey, we want to do whatever, and I come up with my stuff myself. So for me, it was very broad. And then some people really lock into a style. Does that make sense? From a career perspective, okay? And I'll show you a couple people in a little bit. So the first thing we've got to do here, and I just start, I don't think about what I'm doing when I start. I just start. Now, here's where people make the mistake. We have to go through ideation, which is our coming up with our ideas. And then we have to thumbnail those ideas and work everything out. And then we've got to design everything that's in that frame. Does that make sense? Okay? Where everybody falls apart is because if I go to anybody in the hallways at school and I go, what do you want to be? 90% of them will go, I want to be a character designer, which I don't understand, but that's fine, okay? So what they'll do is they'll get this and they'll just start designing characters right off the bat. And it's like, you don't even know what it is yet, you know what I mean? And if you sort of thumbnail out your characters, then I can take it, whether it's on paper, I can blow it up a little bigger, or if it's digital, I can blow it up a little bigger, and I can start to refine that drawing and start to design to what I need to design to. Does that make sense? If you start designing the characters before you even know what you're doing, Now you've got to pose those characters. They might not work in the scene. You might need to change all sorts of things in it. Whereas if I have sort of a guide, I can design to those characters and to those poses. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Now, when we talk about this text, right, the first thing that goes through my mind is that this kid obviously is a little bit of an oddball. All the other kids are bringing in normal things, and this kid's bringing an alligator. Okay, that's one of the things that goes through my mind. The next thing that goes through my mind is, what's the reaction of the kids in this classroom? Are they terrified by this thing? Do they think it's cool? What's the teacher's reaction? What's the school's reaction? I start thinking about all that stuff because I want to get reaction and scenario. Does that make sense? So where do we start? Laura? You're not unmuted.
I think layout, especially because there's a gutter involved, whether you want it to be two separate images or one continuing one.
Yes, that's a good, well, yeah. But I'm thinking of it as a 2-page spread. So I'm already telling you as an art director, this is a 2-page spread. Okay. So one of the things I might do is, hang on, let me mark this orange. Okay. Is come in here. If I don't have an idea right off the bat, then I come in here and I started doing this earlier, actually, playing around with this, where I started thinking of them at the bus stop, okay? Because then I start going, well, let's say this is a bus stop, okay? And they're sitting here. And so far, I don't really have any reaction with these guys. But then are all these kids over here? That's why I put a wall here, by the way, where all these kids are backed up looking, you know, nervous over here. Right? So I have a reaction. Does that make sense? Okay. Which I didn't like. Okay. I don't mind the kids having a reaction, but I don't like them all being up against the wall. It starts to feel like a little too terrified. I think they should be, they shouldn't be terrified. They should just be like stunned or something. Does that make sense? Whereas I felt like I back them up against a wall, I'm starting to get them a little too terrified. Okay. I just found a drawing today because I was going to show it for my other class. And it's a Jack Davis drawing, which is this illustrated from a long time ago. And it's a bad guy being saved, or it's a kid being saved from a bad guy by like a knight in shining armor or whatever, right? But they have it's weird. I kept it, I think. They have the kid turned around face first into a tree and tied up. And there's just something about him being turned around face into the tree that looks a little too severe. They should have turned him the other way, okay? And in today's thing anyway, if you see a kid tied up, it looks a little weird, but. Okay, does that make sense what I'm talking about? Okay, so one of the things I gotta look at is I go, do I put this kid or this alligator, where is he? You know, and I got a kid here, right? That's my 2 elements so far, and then I can get kids into this. But what I want right now is reaction. So I want some stuff from you guys. Jesse?
The kids
Say it again, you're breaking up.
looking not as stunned, but maybe. Hello? Can anyone else hear me?
Now I can.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I said maybe the kids, instead of looking more stunned, maybe looking more intrigued. Is that what you were asking about? Other kids'
Yes.
reactions?
What I'm trying to get is, I've got to get some sort of reaction here. Otherwise, it's just all the kids going, an alligator,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Maybe,
One of the things we
maybe
talked
them peeking around something?
huh?
Like peeking around a bookshelf looking, like if they were walking into a classroom or...
Well, I mean, I can put them, I think the original illustration for this thing was in front of like lockers this way. But the reason I picked this quote is because if you go look it up, it's not a very interesting illustration. It's basically what I'm drawing here, and then there's some kids here walking.
Mhm.
Can I add something to this?
Sure.
So are the kids supposed to look surprised in a way they get distracted? Because I was thinking, like, what if they just run into someone else without looking, like, head on?
You just broke up on me. Can you say that again? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you say that again? You broke up on me.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Now I can hear
Okay.
you.
So did you hear the idea?
No, I didn't hear all that. You broke up.
Oh, so what I was thinking was, since this takes place in a hallway, usually there's two paths, or I don't know, an additional one when it comes to going to a specific classroom. I was thinking of, like, I don't know, two people like crashing into each other head on by, you know, one being distracted and one just going on their way to class.
Well, that's an idea. It doesn't have to be in a hallway, though. That's why I'm saying I could look at it from them getting ready for school. I could look at it from them getting on the bus. I could look at it from them being in the classroom doing show and tell. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody, we went down this whole rabbit hole with this process last term. And it started turning into this thing where somebody had the alligator basically doing a show, right? So the teacher, because first we were saying the teacher would, you know, react badly to this and would want to throw this kid out or whatever in the real world, okay? But then we sort of went the direction, instead of the kids being scared of it, this thing was super cool. He was like on a unicycle juggling or something, doing all this stuff. And we started playing off the word of show and tell. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's fun to illustrate, you know? And if you've got this, you know, this, and the other thing that was fun about it is you can go, this thing is big. And if you notice, I'm not worried about my drawing. You guys understand that? I don't care about the drawing right now. All I want to do is try and figure out my stuff, okay? And by the way, if we go short today, this will be the last day we go short, because after this, I will have your work to look at. Does that make sense? Okay. You know, so I can have him, you know, the idea of drawing something fun on here and his hands being here. And see, I wouldn't put the desk there. I got to put the desk over here. You know, and I can have my teacher here. She's got glasses on. Maybe she likes this, actually. And then, but then I go, I want to get the kids in there, right? So that's just another idea. And what I do is I just start burning through a million ideas, and that's what you guys are going to have to start doing. Does that make sense? You guys are all frozen.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I kind of saw it, like, was like kind of like the years I did show and tell. It was like really like early development. So it was like 5.
Sure.
And I was kind of thinking it was like a baby alligator, and like they're like holding it wrong, like a kid would. Like, you know how like they have like this swoop stomach thing, and they're like holding it like that, and it's like upside down. Yeah, but like just like a single like kid, just like showing it with like the whole like, not really like glowy, but almost like watercolor background sort of thing. So it's more like focused on him and like what he's doing. But it's kind of interesting with like the other kids' reactions things too, because that wasn't like the first thing that came up. It was more of just like the teacher with like the really like uptight nose thing where it almost like does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I saw it though. But
Okay, what I like about everything you're saying is it's very specific.
right, yeah.
You're going back to your own childhood, and you're going, how, and one thing that really strikes me about what you just said is the idea of kid holding something awkwardly.
Right.
Because it's something we talked about last term in this class.
Okay.
And here's the example why I was talking about it in class. Because that's really interesting you brought that up. How long have you been at Fullerton? Taylor.
I started taking more art classes in, I think like last year, but before then I was working on like general ed, and I just found out about like certificates and stuff. So I've just started to do that.
So what do you want to do?
I'm in between animation and illustration, and between those two, I kind of want to start doing like tattoo artist stuff.
No tattoo.
So do tattoos.
Aim higher.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, like I was thinking the times I'm like in between, like, you know, like studio stuff, I just, you know, it's an easy way to make money while still drawing.
I get it. Like, I actually thought about it when I was in college. I can't stand tattoos or tattoo culture.
Yeah. See, I don't even have tattoos, but like I just like the way, like, I don't know, I heard apprenticeships like are kind of vary, but like, you know, everything does. But
there's a guy, actually, if you really want to dig into that, there's a guy who came through I think it was my cartooning class, and he was kind of starting at ground zero.
yeah.
He really hadn't done much of any drawing or anything really, but he wanted to be a tattoo guy. And usually a lot of times in class back then, I don't do this as much now, I get all like, I don't care about that. Who cares? But anyway, he really had his stuff together. He was a really cool guy. And I was like, you know what? It's not up to me to decide what somebody wants to do as a career. So shut up about it and teach him what he needs to know. Okay. And his name's Daniel. And I've never seen a guy, because that's what he wanted to do. And then, so anyway, I took my class and I taught him how to draw loose and all that. And I go, you need to go take rendering. That's what you need to take. Then he took rendering.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing stuff like probably only like a year later. He came to me and started talking about an apprenticeship. And he goes, they were like, taking him around and stuff. And I go, screw those dudes. And then he went someplace where they gave him a good apprenticeship. But he did all this in like 6 months, right? And then this stuff started popping up on my Instagram, these drawings that I thought were just somebody who I was following that I just liked the drawings. And it was him. Like he went from zero in like probably 2 years, and now he's entrenched at this tattoo place, and he's incredible. I mean, he just worked his ass off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, let me pull this.
It's crazy how much like traditional affects like everything that you do. Like,
oh my God.
Before when I started drawing, I just started like, I would just like draw stuff, and it wasn't probably high school. Crazy how much like those classes and like
You're talking about tradition.
Yeah. Well, that, and for the illustration thing, like just for the book, because it kind of like, to me, like the phrase kind of comes off as like, okay, she's like uptight. You know what I mean? Like
in this
if
case,
you're a kid, you usually think like, I can bring whatever I want, you know?
Okay, so look at this image. Can you see this image?
Yeah.
Okay, look at this kid right here. It's exactly what you were talking about. Do you see that?
Right.
The kid on the far right?
Yeah, it's like lopsided.
A little bit older, right? A little more in control, a little bit older. Arms are a little more in control. Very young. Arms are awkward and out of control.
Right.
Okay? That's why I'm stoked you brought that up, because I always bring this up in relation to something. And what I love about this is not only is he showing a size relationship of this kid, he's also showing the awkwardness of that youth.
Yeah. Like you could see their age on, but how they're like presented.
Yeah, and look, here's another thing. So I'm going to talk about this in a minute. If I can take this damn thing off of here. Hang on. I don't know why it's not dragging off for some reason. Hang on. Okay, so let's pull this in real quick. Because this guy, I always pull this guy up to show what we're going to start talking about in a few minutes. And I'm trying not to jump ahead, but you got me started on this now. Hang on. Because the thing I like about Carter Goodrich is his simplicity, okay? You can really clearly see his shapes. So let's look at this right here. We've got basically circles, right? Almost a triangle, and he added that on. Cylinder, rectangle, basically square, rectangle. When I say square, that covers rectangle too. And you know, here, same thing. Overall, look how simple the feet are. Okay, I love this, the way the boots are like oversized. See them? You see that? The girl on the left? Does that make sense, you guys?
Building.
Can you hear me?
Is this just the foundation of building characters from simple shapes? How you just use one specific shape for a character and you build off of that to give a distinct feature?
Yeah. And the reason I'm bringing him up, I'm jumping ahead a little bit because Taylor brought it up. He's a very good example of this because it's so simple. Does that make sense? Abigail?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because when we're talking about this, I look at what I always do. So let's go through this a little bit more and then I can jump over to that. Okay, so you're talking about, Taylor, you're talking about her having a small alligator, right?
Yeah, like I was thinking like kind of like a, sorry, an overweight, like almost like alligator. Like he's like chubby and it's like tiny and like lopsided almost, just like kind of about like almost like the same body size as the kid. Like, because in a lot of cartoons, like kind of see like they usually have like the same sort of features, like kind of go together.
So this kind of size relationship?
Yeah, exactly, with the little feet like doing that. Yeah,
Sort of up like a baby.
right.
And then he's got, what I always love to play with is this tail. It can hit the ground.
Yeah,
Do something like that. And then the kid, you know, again, this awkward, maybe the feet are turned in, not that much, turned in a little or something.
right.
A little too baby right there. But, you know, and then the awkward hands holding them. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but what's the scenario? Where are they?
I was thinking more like in front of a class, and it was more like singled out on them, like, because you know when like you do show and tell, it's really just kind of like you. I was thinking like more of like, I guess, a spotlight situation. So it's just kind of like from the point of view of the students looking at him, and he's like proudly holding it and like stuff like that.
Maybe some of the students could be like in the foreground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are any of them going, yeah, alligator, hands up in the air? I would when I was that age.
Yeah.
You know, teacher desk over here, maybe,
Yeah. And she's like freaked out.
block. I don't know what classrooms even look like anymore. Teacher, is she freaked out?
Yeah.
I don't have her freaked out enough yet, but actually her mouth would probably be open. Like, huh?
Yeah.
Now here's what I like about it, and I can do this digital or traditional, it doesn't matter. You know, that you can just do this sort of, you know, and then sometimes maybe this kid is standing on, maybe they have like a little milk crate or something. Notice I'm using like 1950s terms like milk crate, which like nobody even but you know, some kind of something, so they have a little makeshift stage for the kid or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's, you know, something better. And then I start to go into like, what else can be in this classroom? So now I got kids here. Maybe they got their desks in front of them. And maybe they got stuff on their desk that they're going to show, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, like just like the sticks and the rocks that she was talking
What I
about.
like is like, yeah, they're specifically saying sticks and rocks, but maybe this kid right here in the foreground has something, and it's an Easter egg. Maybe this kid on the
Yeah.
desk right here also has something super weird to show, right? Like what?
Yeah. Sorry, you cut out at the end.
Oh, like what would this kid have?
Maybe you could have something sticking out of someone's backpack,
I
like
love
you
that.
see,
Frog
like
with the top hat.
A frog, like the what's that thing's called? Come on, my baby.
The
Come on.
WB frog.
Yeah, that one.
I love that when it jumps out and does that.
Hello, my baby.
I love that. It's like that. Those guys back then, they used all those old vaudeville songs and stuff, you know. Okay, so yeah, and I also love the
Love
idea
that
of, like, maybe I see the top of this kid's backpack. Like, here's the backpack. Here's an opening, and maybe there's a little pair of eyes in here. So this kid's got something weird in here too, right? Does that make sense? Yeah?
yeah.
So to me, that's a secondary read. It's an aha read. And I love aha reads because you're looking at it. Oh, look at that. Look at that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
You know, and then maybe, maybe there's something, you know, I see the bottom of a poster. Maybe that says something funny on it. Like, don't poop your pants or something.
Maybe he's standing in front of a chalkboard or a whiteboard.
Yeah, that's perfect. Actually, get rid of the clock. Don't be precious with your stuff. Like like Gita said, put a blackboard. Well, that's better than the clock. That's a better idea. And then you could say today, show and tell, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm also thinking about later on. So this kid would be super stoked. Later on, I'm going to think like, okay, I can put a dark value right here. And if she has light hair, I can really pop her out of that dark value. Does that make sense? So look, now you've got a little scene. You've got an idea. Does that make sense? And I think it would be all about her reaction, because what you're saying is the teacher told you, you know, the teacher's obviously going to get freaked out by an alligator, right? So if you give me this, you're speaking enough to the text that I'm good with that if I'm art directing it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we got a scenario. So now what you have to do is go, give me another one. Okay, so now we've done this small guy. What if it's bigger? What if he's really cramming this frame? He's got like little arms.
I was thinking for like maybe one idea, could be like the alligator like overarching the whole like page maybe. Kind of like he's popping out of the kid's backpack. And he's like peering into like the teacher's eye, and the teacher's like, oh my God, you know, and all the kids are like piling around the other kid, kind of like keeping their distance, but they want to like know more.
So he could be even like, I'm not sure if I'm getting this, but
I think it should be put somewhat above the horizon line so that it can give the illusion of, I don't know, something much larger in size, maybe.
Or maybe even like coming off the page.
I like the idea of what you just said. I'm not sure if I'm reading it correctly, but it gave me an idea. It's probably your idea. But I think it should look nice. Teachers maybe here. Or maybe, I'd have to deal with that gutter. I'm not going to worry about it right now. But the teacher really could be sort of leaning away from him. You know, like in her desk, like leaning away from him this way. But he's being friendly. And then to your point, maybe, I don't know, he's so big that he comes into the frame over here. And I see the tail or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you were talking about?
Kind of. I think I was thinking more like kind of flatter, not so much like over. I love the overlappage, but I kind of want to make it more dramatic where it's almost like he's top heavy and he's like really thin coming out of the backpack. So you feel like that weight
Okay, I love all that.
Like kind of like doc.
So I'm expecting to see that as a thumbnail next week. Now look, hang on, I'm gonna show you something. Because you just reminded me of something. When is this coming up? All right, hang on. I don't have, the one thing that sucks, the only thing that sucks is like I have a lot of books that I keep in my office. And I love to bring them out in class and look at them. And then every time I want to do that, I have to go find it online. It kind of sucks. But anyway, okay, let's try. Because it has something sort of like what I just drew. There it is. Okay, so let's look at this, if I can find this. And this thing kind of has a lot of Easter eggs in it, which I really like. Here it is. Again, if I can get it to open. There we go. It's a small image, but I'm going to try and use it. So see how he's got this giraffe going out of frame and then coming back in?
Yeah.
Okay, but the thing I love here is if you look close on this, and if you read the book, you know who all these characters are. There's a lot of by the way, these two little fairies, that's his daughters in real life, right? And then if you look at what they're eating, like he's eating bubbles. She's eating a grilled cheese sandwich because that's part of the book. Then you got this little guy serenading everybody. And if you look in here, you'll find like this little shell with the eyes sticking out. This guy looking up and reacting. This little pig having a conversation with the bear. Like there's all this stuff going on in here. And it's like if you look on the table, it's just all this fun little stuff going on. Does that make sense? Look at this. There's three little quails in here. Quail eggs. Another little quail flying off. I forgot what the thing is with that. It's all sparkly. See what I mean? Does that make sense? Am I frozen?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And this, by the way, this technique on this one is exactly the technique we're going to use. Okay, his technique is very similar to mine, right? Brownish pencil, a little bit of ink, and watercolor, and that's it. Okay? It's very straightforward. And by the way, you guys, before I get to doing a full, because I'm going to have to demo for you guys how we stretch watercolor paper and how we transfer, which I'll do, and that'll just go on YouTube. I think I told you guys this. I just did a video for my Fundamentals of Cartooning classes. It's more of an inking video, but I watercolor this thing. So I'm gonna link that for you guys too for the watercolor part of it, because it'll relate to this class. Okay, so if you want to ignore the inking part, or if you want to ink yours, that's fine too. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, so give me another scenario.
I was thinking of if the kid in the alligator just showed up to class and everyone is just on the chalkboard, but one day class
You're cutting out. Hey, is she cutting out for everybody? Or is it just me?
mates are just looking with
A little bit.
It's
I
intermittent.
could hear her.
You guys could hear her clear?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, so it's cutting out on me. So let me do this real quick. I think I did this last time. Let me jump out of here and jump back in. Okay? Laura, I'll probably make you the co-host because I have to make the okay? So give me a second. Jump back in. Shit, I don't want to end. Hang on. Wait. If I end the thing, I'm ending the whole thing. Oh, well. All right. I'm going to just try and plow forward because it's not giving me the option for some reason. It's only giving me the option to end the whole meeting, which I don't want to do. All right, so I'm just gonna try and plot forward. Can you say that again? Was it Abigail?
Yes. My idea was.
Damn. Can somebody put it in chat? Because she's cutting out.
If in the building is Gator. The teacher is writing something on the chalkboard, but the chalk is, you can, that she's kind of in, I guess, to for show and tell, but everyone else is just looking kind of with intrigue rather than terror.
I like intrigue. How do you show intrigue though?
I don't know. It's kind of just basically kind of just curiosity.
Okay, yeah, you could do that. But what was the part about writing on the chalkboard?
For his teacher to be writing something when he shows up with his gator, and to show the fact that she's surprised at what he thought that what she wrote is kind of like deterring, given that the chalk is just going straight down.
Okay. I think it might get a little complicated, but that comes down to like how you illustrate it, right? That makes sense?
All right.
Sorry, my stylist did something weird. By the way, I got my lights. So I got my area, my live area lit up. Not right now, but I have it lit up. Okay, let me fix this. Okay. Okay, there we go. Can you guys hear me now? Yeah?
Yes, but you're no longer sharing your screen. So if you are working on your screen, we can't see it.
It's because I thought I was leaving for a minute. There we go. Okay, the thing is with this, you guys are understanding where I'm going, correct?
Yeah.
There's always something fun to me about doing it with people where they're coming up with ideas and throwing it back and forth. I always love that. Whenever I was working with people, I always, when you're doing this kind of thing, you usually be working with an art director or whatever, maybe the writer of the book. But when you're working in teams, it's really fun. I always thought it was fun to do that. So I'd always just throw out a couple of sketches to get everybody talking and get all their ideas and start everybody talking about ideas. I just always like that. And I like it in the class, okay? And I like that you guys are starting. Sometimes you get a class and you start a new class. By the way, I'm rearranging my lights in here. That's why it's so dark in here. You get a class and just nobody's engaging. It's really hard to do with something like illustration because we need to talk about it. Does that make sense? Okay. It has to be verbalized and you have to kind of hive mind it a little bit. Now, again, when you're doing this stuff, you're usually doing it by yourself, you know, and you're working with maybe one person or something like that. But what I'm going to want you guys to do is at least 5 pages of these about this size. Okay. This is an 11 by 17 inch sheet. Okay. I want at least 4 frames on the page. What I do is I just make an 11 by 17 inch square and I just ratio it down. I know my ratio is correct. Does that make sense? And then I just come up with a million ideas. And all what's going to happen is you'll probably get on a, some of you guys already have good ideas. And some of you guys right off the bat are starting to think, you know, okay, which is important, okay? Don't do this. Don't do what a lot of people do, where people go, I want to draw a badass looking alligator that looks like it came out of Lord of the Rings. It's like, don't do that, okay? Like, don't just design something so you can draw what you like to draw. That doesn't work, okay? Because I can guarantee you an art director will tear your head off if you do that. They'll just go, what is this? And then they'll go, you're fired. They're not even going to wait. They're just going to go, clearly you don't get this. I'm done, okay? So you don't want to do that. And we're talking about a kid's book. I'm doing this very specifically, okay? Because, I mean, some of you probably do have a bent towards that thing like I do. I like kids stuff. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some of you guys like other things, and that's all fun.
Yep.
but I want you to design to this idea. Does that make sense? And I'm really looking for you guys to build the stylization. All I'm telling you is it's a children's book, okay? And I'm gonna start putting a lot of links up to a lot of children's books or children's illustrators. Go all the way back to Beatrice Potter and all that stuff, okay? She kind of invented this stuff, really. And DeSev, and DeSev to me is, I love his stuff, okay? And I'll post a lot of them. And just start getting a sense of, just start to look at that stuff, and it gets me fired up. Like when I look at cool drawings and stuff, I just get all fired up and go, man, I just want to do that. I don't want to copy anything. It just gets me amped up when I look at that stuff. And I go, I want to do stuff better than that. That's cool. Does that make sense? And here's the other thing. So you're going to have at least 4 up on a page. You could go a little smaller if you want. And what I say, 5 pages? Yeah. Did I say 5 pages? Man, my connection sucks.
Can we do them in ours?
Hang on. Madeline, was that you?
Yeah. I was just asking if we could, if you wanted, or if you were okay with us doing them in our sketchbooks and stuff, or if that would be too small.
Just give me at least 4 up on a page. You don't have to be 11 by 17. Just give me at least 4 up on a page.
Okay.
Yeah, you can have to do your sketchbook. I think that's the best place to do them, really.
Okay, good.
Get a cup of coffee and sit there and doodle.
Okay.
Because all this is ideas. All I want to be able to do, look, I could, because I want to talk about this. I could, if I was going to show these to an art director, hang on a sec, I'm going to turn my light on. This is driving me crazy. It's too dark. That's better. Felt like I was talking to you guys from a cave. Okay, so look here. Like I might do a bunch of these. Oh, well, I would do a bunch of these. Okay, and a good thing to do later on is you might want to come in here and do what I'm doing here with a pencil. Like sometimes you get those pencils that are dual pencils. One's blue and one's red, or just get a graphite pencil and a red pencil, a graphite pencil and a blue pencil, or if we're doing it digitally, I'm just doing it this way, but I might go, okay, I'm going to come in here. And where's his leg at? Maybe his, oops, I want to stay with red for now. Because my red is my exploratory color, okay? I'm going to put his foot here. I'm going to put his tail coming out here. And I'm never erasing or anything here. I'm just redrawing, okay? Maybe I'd break the border and have his tail come out, which I could do if I had a border, okay? Then here's his underbelly. This I'm looking up at. No, it still would be like that. I don't know where his arms are. I'm just going to make them up. So let's say his arms are here. And I'm not going to see his eyeball on that side. I'm only going to see it on this side. And then I'm going to give him a little snout, some teeth. And then the desk. Let's say this is the desk. I don't like her behind in front of the desk, but for the purposes of this, I'm not going to worry about it. And I just start to get this laid out. Okay, now I could come in here. Now that would probably be enough for me to show an art director probably, but I might come in here and go, I'm gonna refine this a little bit. I'm gonna take this. On paper, I can't ghost it back, but on here I can. I might take this and knock this down a little bit. And then come in here and just refine a little bit. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. And start to refine this out a little bit. They have a big hinge right here on the back of their thing. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to use it. And I'd come in here and I'd just start to define out my drawing. Does that make sense? Yes, no, everybody's frozen. Yeah?
That makes sense.
God, my connection.
Makes sense.
Oh, man. Hang on. Let's see if I can. Hang on. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but anyway. Okay, does that make sense, you guys?
Yes.
Like this one.
Yeah.
This one is a good example of something where I could come in. And man, I do these things loose. I love going, you'll see it when I start going over you guys and stuff. I love going into loose stuff and structuring it. I just love doing that. And the other advantage of this is that I'm not overthinking anything other than the ideas. Because if we don't start with a good idea, it doesn't matter if you illustrate it. It doesn't matter if the illustration's good. If it's a crappy idea, it's a crappy idea. Does that make sense? And also, if it's a bad composition, if it's bad design, if it's all those things, it's not going to work, okay? Now, before we go to, one thing we're going to have to learn in here, and a lot of people don't know how to do this, is we're going to have to learn how to go to finish, okay? How to have a nice, finished, complete, ready to paint drawing, okay? And a drawing that's ready to paint is got to be worked out, man. Everything's got to be worked out. And especially with watercolor, because watercolor is not opaque. I can't go in and recarve things out, you know, it's transparent, okay? So I have to be, you know, I got to get everything worked out in the drawing, okay? Does that make sense? Right? I used to hate children's books that were illustrated digitally. And, but I got this one by one of my favorite designers named Chip Watts. And he does everything in Illustrator, and I love that book. It's a really great book. And it's all done in vector, and it's really cool. It's really simple shapes. I'll link it. I'll link some of the illustrations to in announcements. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And not, you know, I just as different stylistic ideas. We're not working digitally on this, but you might work digitally on something else if you want, right? Because after this assignment, I'm going to let you guys open up and start deciding what mediums you want to use. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what I'm hoping you guys will do is you'll go, I'm hoping you won't, I don't care, it's fine. I always say that the project dictates the medium, okay? So if somebody came to me and says, like I've written a children's book, I have to get it published. It's gotta be my technique, which is watercolor and for this type of thing, watercolor and ink and pencil or whatever. I don't want it digital, it just doesn't feel right to me, okay? Or I had somebody call me up one time for a job. I didn't end up doing it, but I go, that should be done in oil. We should do that in oil, okay? I want you to have that flexibility. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about, like, I want you guys, if you guys on some other project, because we're going to do one children's book, then we'll move on to something else. In another project, you like when we do the graphic novel thing, you might want to do a more economical style, like Mimi Pond does with her stuff, because she's illustrating a book that's this thick. You know what I mean? It's a fat book, man. And if you sit there and you try and render she'd be working on that for the next 10 years. Okay? The only person that I've ever seen do that is Alex Ross. Okay? And I don't think he does it anymore. But I have some book by him, and he illustrated every panel. It's insane in gouache. Okay? So that's why he normally concentrates on covers and things like that. Okay? Questions on this?
Yeah, so when we turn this in next week, like just like the panels, do you want it like this, or do you want us to go in and like detail stuff?
No.
And make it more, like,
No detail.
you just want a draft, right?
I just want readability. Like you can read this.
Awesome. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah, I can read this enough.
Okay.
You're sitting there and you go, hey, and I go, what is the teacher's over here, and or over here freaking out, and here's the kid holding the alligator. Just make sure it's a little clearer than I have that.
Okay.
I just want to be able to read them. Okay. One of the things I really can't impress upon you guys enough, because sometimes with thumbnails, I'll talk about it, and kids are like, "Yeah, thumbnails." It's like, dude, thumbnails are your language, and if you can't speak this language clearly, you're screwed. And I knew a lot of illustrators at Art Center who were brilliant. I mean, really good illustrators. But when they would show their thumbnails in class, and they'd be up on the board, the teacher would go, "What the hell is this? I don't even know what this is."
Yeah.
Your thumbnails are so unclear, dude. And the problem is that they weren't good sketchers. They were just good at the thing they did. Okay? You've got to have that sketching ability. All right? And then what you really got to do with these kind of things is, and I'll talk a lot about this, is a lot of I can just do where I'm going to go, well, I just got to come in here and define this out a little more. Here's my alligator. He's smiling. And I just come in here and I just kind of define it out a little more. Like this little thing that he's got his feet up like a baby is important, right?
Yeah.
You sell the idea to the art director. They might go, "Oh my God, I love that the kid's like, or the alligator's, behaving like a baby and the kid's holding it like a doll. I love that." You know what I mean? That might be the thing, and all I got to do is just make sure that I separate all this stuff, make sure that this arm is here and I can really see it. I can see her standing behind there. And the other arm awkwardly here. Just define it out a little bit. She's wearing glasses. Or maybe she's looking down at him because she's all into him.
Yeah.
And then she's talking like that with her mouth like that. Right?
Yeah.
Now see how we're getting it now where we can kind of see it? And then maybe I'll even pop a dark in here, like give a little shine on her hair. And see how now we're starting to see her a little better? I might even put her backpack on her. I don't know. And then some people will go, and I know sometimes it gets weird, somebody will be going, "Why is she wearing a backpack in the classroom?" It's like, for the same reason I would wear a long sleeve windbreaker when I was that age if it was 108 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Just a weirdo kid thing, you know what I mean? And then, I define this a little more. Like I might make this create something a little more modern idea. Like maybe it has a label on it that says something a little more now. Maybe not, I don't know. So now, you see how that's a little more readable? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I like the way her mouth is open like that. I like that, okay? And then I might go, pop those, and then really, really push those eyebrows out so she's like, talking about this thing like she loves it, Because she does love it, at least in my mind. Maybe her hair's a little messed up because she had to get him there. And then he's got his little teeth. Maybe he's got a pacifier. So on and so forth, okay?
Yeah.
And you see how I'm just starting to come in here and rough that out and make it readable. Does that make sense? In this one, oops, hang on. I'd have to figure out her hair. For some reason, I want her hair to be big.
Yeah.
Maybe it's very curly. She's got a collar of some kind. She was writing something. Here's a pencil, piece of paper, and she's been shocked, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something with her hair. I don't know what. Probably wouldn't be that. I might make it a big beehive, old school beehive. Oops. Desk. And I'm just going to clean up enough where I could send it. Because here's the thing. Like I did a book years ago with that comedian Bill Maher, okay? And I was working with an art director out, and he was in Beverly Hills. And I would send them stuff like this. Like I came off a plane and I had sketched a bunch of ideas on the plane. I don't think we had cell phones in. I scanned them, sent them off. These things have to read really without me being there. Okay, because he's going to open that email and look at it, and he has to kind of get it. Now he's going to call me and go, "Hey, on this third one, what are you thinking?" You know what I mean? And by the way, on your stuff, do this. 1, 2, 3, and so on. Oops, hang on, I got to calibrate my stupid pen. Okay. Because when you talk to somebody, in this case, it's going to be me, I want to be able to go, all right, on 3, what are you thinking? Okay. Or if the art director calls me and goes, hey, man, what are you thinking on 2? I'm not quite understanding. And then you go, oh, the kids, blah, blah, blah. And they go, oh, okay. You know, but I want them ideally to read without me even having to be there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, that's job 1. You got to come up with ideas, okay? Then you've got to stage them, okay? Then you've got to go through the process like we started to do with this one. Oops. Where we started, the reason I like this one is it feels like a fully fledged idea, okay? And I think this one probably was too, but that's June's idea, and she has a different idea about it. But the reason I don't like her leaning on the desk this way is she looks too scared, okay? And that wasn't what you said, I know. But this one feels pretty fleshed out. And then I'm also going, this whole front part here, let's put another layer here. The thing I like about this front part is I might be able to get away with just a big silhouetted wash in this foreground.
That's kind of how I was picturing it too.
Yeah, but see how it automatically pushes everything behind it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice graphic idea. You know, and then I can come in here. And I'm going to show you something here in a minute. You know, I could put variations in here, and maybe this kid's wearing a baseball hat. You know, I could put a few things in here. Maybe this is a girl. So on and so forth, okay? Mm-hmm. Now we got an idea, and I start thinking about this stuff, you know, and then we go here. And I'm going, okay, I like that, because now what am I getting? Now I'm getting, and this would be the secondary part, right? I mean, you can think about it when you're thumbnailing. Now I'm going, okay, now I got a foreground, a middle ground, and a background, right? So now I got 3 components of a good composition. Does that make sense? I'm not in the gutter. Oops. I'm not in the gutter here, right? These are clearly on either side of the page, but they don't feel overly staged. When I open that up, it doesn't look like I'm avoiding the gutter. And then I got this big graphic symbol right in the foreground that's going to really push everything out from the other side. Yeah?
Yeah.
And somebody said something about a flashlight now, or a spotlight. Now I keep thinking of having another kid standing there with a flashlight on her, right?
Like over his head.
Yeah, like a little spotlight, like her buddy's up on a, like her buddy could be standing on, oops, god damn it, hang on. Whenever my Wacom uncalibrates itself, it does it again right afterwards. Good old Wacom, hang on. And by the way, this might be totally unnecessary, but I don't care. I like to explore it. So let's get rid of this line. You know, maybe the other kid is standing like on a stack of books, right?
Yeah.
And she's even smaller, you know, up here, again, holding it all awkwardly, a flashlight. She's got her own little stage hand holding up a flashlight on her like a spotlight. Does that make sense? You're frozen on my screen. And maybe it works and maybe it doesn't, okay? But I didn't do nothing. I mean, I'm not, here's the thing I love about this. It's my world. I can do anything I want in it. And the only thing I've expended is a little bit of ink, right?
Yeah.
And you guys also got to realize, which I think is really interesting, is that there's people, especially before all these movies started getting made, all these Marvel movies and all this stuff. Think about this. People sat in their little room like this with their drafting board, some ink, and some watercolor or whatever, and they created entire universes sitting at their desk, okay, that you are now seeing in all these amazing movies and all these things. That all started with some person sitting at a drafting board underneath a light bulb, sitting there conjuring all this stuff up. And it cost them nothing except for the price of ink and paper and pens. That's it. You know what I mean? Now it costs you billions or whatever, millions, okay? This is your universe, man. You know, do something cool with it, okay? Like and that's what I'm saying with this kid. Like, I don't know if the kid standing on the books is going to make any sense, but I can just try it. Who cares? You know what I mean? And I do a lot of these on that. I'll pull out the trace if I'm working on paper. I'll pull out the roll trace and I'll do an overlay. I'll draft dot it down. I'll do an overlay over it again in pencil or whatever, pen. And then if I don't like it, I tear it back off the page and I don't use it. Okay? Doesn't have to be digital. Some people put, you know, rip a little Post-it note off and put it on there over it and try it. Okay? Anything goes when it comes to ideas. Anything goes. Okay? But try it. Don't sit around and go, oh, I wonder. Try it. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's job one, is our ideas. And I want you to think about it. Just act like I'm the art director, okay? So when I see these things on, what day is today? Wednesday, Monday. You know, I want them readable. I want good ideas and readable. Look, and here's the other thing. I don't want 5 pages of a variation of the same idea, okay? So I don't want to see like this idea and they go, okay, now I put the kid over here with the flashlight. Now the kid's over here, and now I put the teacher over there. And now I moved everybody here. Now I did a different kind of, that's not new ideas. I want all individual ideas. Does that make sense? You guys are all
Yes.
Yeah? You guys are all locked up.
Go.
Laura. That all makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so that's going to be your first job, okay? I'm going to put up a video on watercolor washes just for you to look at and start getting familiar with. As soon as I'm done with the one on inking, I'm going to put that up. But I just concern yourself with the watercolor stuff and the gouache and all that. And then I'll do another video about just doing this. But and I'll also do one on stretching the paper and all that stuff. Okay, so don't worry about that. Here's another thing that you should probably try and do. Go out in your garage and see if you can find just a piece of an old piece of plywood or something. Okay. I used to go down to, well, I still do. I would go down to Home Depot and I would have them, they have small sheets of plywood. Sometimes they're fine, the size they are, and they're not expensive. But if they're a little big, I just have the guy come over and I go cut it down. Like in this case, I might cut it down to about, I don't know, 2 inches over my page size, 11 by 17, maybe 2 or more inches, right? So I can go to a little bigger paper and still have my tape and everything on it. And that's what I use to staple down my paper when I do, or tape it or whatever, when I do the stretching, right? We're not going to get to that for a little bit, so don't worry about it right now. And you probably ask your folks or whoever and just go, do we have a small piece of plywood out there? And you just use that. I had somebody use an old like piece of a tabletop. I've had just people use, it doesn't even matter, okay? Just, I would try and get something that's not super heavy though, okay? I'm using a piece of gator board now, right? They sell it as like for this, like, oh, it's for stapling down watercolor paper or whatever. It's just, I think it's just a piece of gator board, okay? Which is nice, it's super light, okay? So something like this, right? Only don't get a good board like this. By the way, if you guys are near Art Supply Warehouse, I don't know if they still have these. This is the one with the metal edge. These are nice, right? They have these for $5. That's insane. It's insane. Those things cost like $40, okay? And the bigger ones are $60. And they had a bunch of them, so they might still have some. Okay, so anyway, what else? Okay, all that makes sense, correct? Any questions?
No.
Wow, that's good.
Well, for now.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's good. I like that. I like questions, so. Jesse, no questions?
No, I think I'm actually good.
I put some people up there. I think Joel, I don't know, maybe you will, maybe you won't. In that list, and one of them is the Clayton brothers. One of them, I don't know if I put Jason Hawley up there yet. Have you seen Jason Hawley?
No, I don't think so.
I think you should look at those kind of guys. I'm not sure if that's your sensibility. I get the sense that you're probably pretty open-minded about illustrators and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. To like, I don't know.
I get really excited about.
I think I get what you might mean.
Yeah, I get excited about these people, and I want to turn it. And I'm not trying to make anybody draw in a certain style or whatever, or illustrate a certain style or whatever. But I am trying to hopefully show you guys some people you haven't seen, and genres and styles and things that are a little cool. You know what I mean?
Hmm?
Like the Clayton brothers, Okay, so.
Actually, the guy I saw the other day, and the illustration was crazy. It's called Hair High. Have you seen that? It's by Bill Plimpton.
Oh, Bill Plimpton, yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
So unusual, but like, yeah, I was into it.
He have you seen his animation stuff?
That's what I saw. It was just like something popped up. I think it was on Hulu or something. It's called Hair High.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's one of his animated movies, and it was just so bizarre, but that's right up my alley.
This guy, I mean, there's a bunch of these guys. Hang on. Oh, my connection is so slow. Come on. Like this guy.
Which one was the one you said to check out on the list?
I like this guy, Jason Hawley. I got a bunch of them on the list. This guy, it's not loading. He's been around forever. I had him as a teacher when I was over at Art Center. And what's interesting about him is he works like in this kind of weird, he'll pull his own images and tear them out, collage them, and paint back into them. And he just does a lot of interesting techniques. That makes sense?
Yeah, that was rad.
I'll put them on the, I put a bunch of illustrators on the thing, and I'm just going to keep doing them. I'm going to keep, as I'm thinking about them, throwing them up. And some of them are traditional, some of them are much more contemporary, so on and so forth, all right?
Okay. Did you make it so that we could, other students can comment on it and
I'm going to put a discussion.
Add-
I'm going to put a discussion board up, and I'm just getting I'm getting everything organized right now because it's the first week.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, that's
let's
cool.
look at this, you guys. So I don't want you to start designing characters yet or anything, but I want you to start thinking about construction, okay? So in this case, I usually go to the source. Obviously, it's an alligator in this case. I just get a lot of stuff. And the main thing that I look for is just this basic structure here. And my basic structure here is this. He doesn't have that snout thing here, but I'm going to put it on. Then he's got really little eyes. I'm going to make him bigger. He's got this big thing. He's got his mouth here. And then I start loosening it up. Teeth. Probably give this a little more image here. And I'm just going to start like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go the whole route where I'm going to start to go, okay, once I kind of figure them all out, they have these really weird arms that are sort of like sausages with this part pinched. Sort of like that, right? Now that doesn't mean you have to draw it like that, right? But what I do is I kind of start here because I think their back legs are funny. They have this little thing, if they're sitting down or laying down like that, they kind of do this and they have this little fat part right here and their feet come forward right here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to start going, okay, well now I got to stand them up. So I'm going to start putting this stuff. I'm going to make those eyes a lot bigger. These eyes are really small. I'm going to maybe make them look a little friendlier. They have this hinge right here, which I think is interesting, or it goes up like that. That's where it hinges. I don't have to show that. Again, we're not making a documentary. You know, then I can start to think about this as a real simple shape here. You know, how do I want to handle his legs? I love playing with the tail. And I do this a lot so I can do this overlap with my line. And then I can put this stuff in. And this is going to help show the direction of the tail. And then maybe eventually I start to come up with some little design that I kind of like. Even some eyebrows, even though they're not connected, so what? And then teeth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I look at this, then I go, okay, if I want to break this down, and it's actually kind of important that I kind of understand how it works. I don't always start with blocks and all this stuff. Most of the time I don't, but I kind of am thinking that, like I look at an alligator and I go, okay, it's sort of a triangular box, okay? Then the body is sort of a little bean shape. Then, you know, depending on how I want to handle the legs, it's that. And maybe the arms, I go, well, I'm just going to have the arms a little more just simple, let's say. You know, and then I'm going to put this big snout on it and my tail. And I go, if I basically break it down, let's say it's this. Okay, does that make sense? Now, why does that matter? Why does it matter that I know that this is the breakdown?
Everything's made up of shapes and to put together mentally.
Because if I want to turn this guy, let's get rid of this. Now if I go, well, I want to put this guy running forward. God damn it. Forward. You know, maybe he's running this way. My shapes aren't exactly right yet. I'm just going to base it on these same shapes. Only now I'm just turning them around a little bit. This has to be a little more chubby. And this one's going to have to be a little more chubby. I could extend his arm out a little bit because I can stretch that a little bit. He's looking behind him. Some speed lines on him. And now I can start to turn them any way I want to turn them. I can do a back view because I know that it's just this simple shape. And then now his tail's going to go this way. And his snout's going to be out here. Actually, more like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So as long as I know how it's constructed, I can move it around, okay? And it's not going to start looking like, you don't want the art director to go, how come every single page it looks like a different character? Because that's what happens, okay? And if I know how my construction works, it's just going to help me to design it, and it's also going to help me to move it around and keep it somewhat on model, okay? Now, you're creating the model, all right? And in this case, we're only doing 1 page or 2 page layout. So we don't have to do that, but I want you to be aware of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on. I'm going to look in the chat.
Why does the crust look so wet?
The what? You talking to me?
Oh.
Okay. All right. What was I going to say? I don't want you to start designing characters yet. Does that make sense? I just want ideas. I just want thumbnails. And we said 5 pages, right?
Yeah.
At least 4 up on a page per page, right? And they can be small, man. You know. As a matter of fact, I want them small. Okay. Here's the thing that people make a mistake, by the way, is they do this and they go and they do drawings, you know, taking up a whole page, and then they go and then they show me 2 ideas, and I go, whoa. You're supposed to have 5 pages of ideas. And the reason they didn't do a lot is because once you go big, you start now you're just doing a finished drawing. You're not doing thumbnails and ideas anymore. You're doing a finished drawing. So what those people do is they've spent 4 hours on these bad drawings. And I'm like, it's not even a good idea. Like, why are you working so big? It makes your brain go to finish. It also makes your brain go, oh, I've been working on this for an hour. Now I have to make it work. I have to keep working on it because I've been working on it for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Don't do that. I mean, thumbnails are all about ideas, okay? This is about I love this part of a project because I get to just ideate and have fun. And when I get super warmed up with my thumbnails, they start looking cool, okay? Make sense? Let me capture this room again.
Yeah.
About watercolor, will we be needing this for the sketching, spot of this?
For the sketching part, no.
Oh, okay then.
I don't want any color on this, nothing.
Okay.
Just ideas. We're not going to get to watercolor for probably 2 weeks. Okay. So you're clear.
So you don't want the drawings finished or anything?
No.
Just sketches or like ideas like this?
I just want them like I just
and
did.
5, right?
I just want them like.
Right.
I want them like You know, basically like that.
Okay, and 5 panels, right?
I just want to be able to read them and just know what the idea is. I just want good ideas.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the last time we riffed on this for quite a while, and I did a lot of ideas and stuff like that. And I'm not doing it as much. That's why I kind of pulled it out of you guys a little more. Because then the next Monday or whatever it was, all I saw were my ideas on thumbnails, right? And it's like, I want your guys' ideas, all right? This is your point of view, not mine. Okay, hang on. I do not want disciples, and I do not want clones. I want you guys, or clones of you guys being clones of anybody else. You gotta be your own person. Hang on. Okay. Let me capture the room again. Madeline, you had to get an ad code, right?
Yeah, I got into the class, but it's not showing up on Canvas.
When did you get in?
Like earlier today, I think, because it told me I'd gotten in before, but then it told me I wasn't. It was being weird. So
It's probably just hasn't showed up in there yet.
okay. Okay.
Okay, so I've leveled off at 25. I'm missing. Oh no, I'm not missing. Jesse. Where's
Yeah.
Jesse?
Yes, I'm here.
You were late today, right?
By like 3 minutes, but yes.
3 minutes is late.
My apologies.
All right. It's first week. I'm not going to get crazy with it.
Thank you.
What else?
I'm kind of, the time changes messing with me
What time change?
too. So
Well, you know what, you guys? Jesse's freezing on me. Make sure when you start running out of go ahead, Jesse.
oh, did you hear me again?
No, you cut out.
Oh, I just said I'm in Cleveland. So sorry, it's just a time change for me. Yeah.
You're still there? Isn't that cool that you can do your class in Cleveland?
Yeah, that's why we were definitely like, let's do it. I can do all my school online.
When are you coming back?
I don't know. We drove out, and so I'm going to buy a one-way back, but I'm having a good time out here. It's nice to be back in Cleveland, so.
Did you
I'm
used to live there?
What was that?
Did you used to live there?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know anything about it. That sounds interesting.
Cleveland's super cool. I mean, everything's kind of closed right now, but bars are actually open again. Not that I want to go drinking, but I want to go draw people. So
I
I'm
want to
thinking
go
trying to find. I mean, I do enjoy beer. I am of age, but I want to go draw people at bars because they're the best places to draw people.
Bars are really good, and especially if you go to really interesting areas.
Cleveland is full of characters.
Yeah, it's an instant icebreaker. That's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm.
You can just sit there and start drawing people, and everybody's kind of lubed up because they've had a few, and then you can just like go, "How'd you end up here, man?" You know what I mean? Like if it's a weird area, you'll go like, "How'd you end up here?" And they'll tell you their story, you know, and they don't get offended or anything about it. You know, they're like, "What do you mean?" What? They just go, "Oh, I used to be an elementary school teacher, and then my whatever happened." You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And as you're drawing them, it like gives you more ideas if you want to start like characterizing them a little bit more in your drawing.
I'm just starting to work on a book based around that kind of thing.
Oh, that's rad.
By the way, did you know this? Look at. So look. Oh wait, I got to share my screen. You can. Shit. Where is it? Damn it. Shoot, I gotta find it. Hang on.
You in here watch Beauty is Embarrassing?
Yeah, did anybody watch that?
Who's that?
I forgot to put it
Yeah.
on. I forgot to put it on the announcement.
It's
on Amazon Prime?
Mhm.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks.
It's so crazy. I forgot how he really didn't know how to make puppets like at all
Yeah.
until they went to Hollywood, and then they were like, oh, we'll just make them now.
Yeah. He God damn it. There's a thing on here. I can't find it. I had it pulled up because I want to show it to you. Oh, here it is. So she sketched. So this was at an event where her husband was there. He's a presenter. Casey, so-and-so, all these people, Monica Lewinsky, blah, blah, blah. And her sketchbook, here's her sketchbook sketching them. She sketched the event, right? But what's cool is I attended blah, blah, blah. I am available for live sketching for your event. You can hire Mimi Pond to come and sketch your event.
What? That's so cool.
I bet you it's not as crazy expensive as you think either.
Wow, that's rad. You know how like at weddings people always give out like
What, the photo?
a weird little gift of like sketching?
I was
So you can have.
I would support that
supposed to do that for somebody's wedding, but I didn't want to do it.
too. It would have been so cool.
Yeah, Mimi Pond on it.
Yeah, I mean, that could be its own field. If you went and sketched weddings, you can charge a lot of money for that.
Yeah, I bet.
Because somebody like said, I was supposed to do it for somebody, I don't remember who, it was a friend of mine, and I was like, I don't want to do it. But if somebody came to me and whatever, if you put that out there to do it, and then somebody said anything about the price, I'd say, you know what, man, fuck you. It's not a photograph where you can just go click. I'm not saying that photography is easy, by the way, because I'm terrible at it. But it's like, dude, I got to sit here and nail this. And if I don't nail this in the moment, it kind of sucks. The moment's gone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing it with a camera, I'm going to get something. You know, in my case, because I'm not a great photographer, it's not going to be great, but I'm going to get something. You know, You blow sketches, man. You got nothing. You know, and some days you're just not on. You know. Okay. Everybody's understanding, correct? Now everybody froze again.
Yeah.
No more. Is there any more questions? God, I got the worst connection today. I'm gonna.
I have a question.
My router by next week, by the way, so hopefully I'll solve this. Go ahead, Brianna.
How did you want us to like label our files when we uploaded them?
Okay. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna put the video of this starting probably tomorrow. I'll put the video because I'll put the video up from this class. And then I will have underneath that will be the word folder. You click that, it'll take you to the folder. And I just want them in a half an hour before class. Just that, anytime up to a half an hour before class.
Okay.
Upload JPEG, 72 DPI. So don't upload like 40 layer, 300 megabyte Photoshop files. And just the name of the file is your name. Okay. I put it up as an I'll put it up as an assignment. I think I already did. And I'm always going to be dumping illustrators on you, dumping books on you, just dumping stuff on you. So that, as I thought of a bunch of today, go through some of those, just look at them. And I'm not saying you got to like all of them. Of course not. Okay. You might look at some of them and go, I hate this stuff. It sucks. Totally cool. But what I want to do with you guys is I want to open your brains up that there is a lot, and I usually do a little talk about this, and maybe I still will, how wide open this field is, okay? And how I think right now, because I probably said this already, a lot of old farts like me, they lament the print days, and they lament this, and they lament that about illustration, all this shit. And it's like, you know what, you guys, now there's blogs, now there's like motion stuff, now there's like, all kinds of stuff, okay? And it irritates me when old farts are doing that, and because it makes me feel like they're pissing on. I don't like it when teachers piss on young people's dreams or whatever, okay? I don't like that. Well, all I'm saying is, like, if you want to accomplish those things, you got to work your ass off. That's all I'm saying. If you want to be lazy, forget it. But it's out there, and you could have an interesting. I was just watching I'm not a Grateful Dead person or anything, but there's an interesting documentary on them on I think Amazon. It's like a multi-part series, right? And that Jerry Garcia guy, the guitar player, apparently, like, after they've been doing this forever and they were famous and everything, he said something to the effect of, he goes, every day that I don't have to have a real job is a miracle. You know what I mean? He made his life doing what he wanted to do, and he didn't answer to nobody. Not that you don't ever answer to nobody, that's different. But if you can make your life as a creative person and make a good living at it and stuff and be happy, it's a bitchin' way to make a living. And I've always said, I went back to school, I went back to Fullerton later. I was like 28 or something when I went back. Everything for me is gravy, because every job I had before that was horrible. Every job I had before I became a designer was horrible, okay? It's all gravy to me, man. You know what I mean? And getting to go out and just do, like, still doing this, you know, talking about this, and I'm doing we're talking about illustration and stuff. I'm getting paid to do it. I mean, shit, that's not work. You know what I mean? So all I'm saying is you got to go out and you got to make it, and you got to make your thing. Okay. Now you might want to go work for a studio or something. That's cool too. Okay. But there's a lot of different ways to approach it. And one of the things I want to do in here is to start opening your brains up to understand, like, okay, everything isn't just going to work for Disney. Everything isn't just going to work on Marvel movies or whatever. There's a whole bunch of, I don't even think that, I think that stuff's interesting when you're doing it. But I find editorial much more interesting. I find illustration, cultural commentary much more interesting. I find all that much more interesting. That's just me, okay? Doesn't mean you have to be. And then there's a million other places, okay? And I'll start showing you a bunch of them. I have to go find them, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. So Monday, we know what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
I'll make sure that I put the assignment up correctly. I'm going to put up a basic watercolor wash video. Okay, just start looking at it. We're not going to be doing it for like 2 weeks, but I'd like you to start to prime your brain if you haven't done it. Okay. And again, when I finish the other one, I don't want you to look at the other one and go, this one's on inking. It's like, no, later on it's about watercolor, and it relates to this class too. I'm trying to make videos because those things, man, that video is 2.5 hours long, which means it takes me like 2 days or something to make that. Okay, because I got to light it. It's a whole thing. I got to edit it. I got to edit all the audio. So it takes a while. So I'm trying to do things where it's like, oh, I could use a little bit of this in here and a little bit of that in there, and hopefully, you know, get them all done. Does that make sense? Any more questions? All right, you guys. Monday. Yeah?
Mike.
Yeah, you guys? Man, I got it.
I know.
Brianna, what are you saying?
I think someone has a question.
Who?
Danielle.
Oh, Danielle. Danielle, put it in chat. So I don't want to miss anything. Oh, the same text? Yes. And then, okay, I want to explain to you why I'm doing that. I think I already did, but I'll say it again. If I go, hey, you guys, because I do this in another class. If I go, hey, guys, we're doing a children's book, they're just going to design it around something they already like doing, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to just, I do want you guys to do your own styles and things like that, but you have to be able to jump around and work to a brief, because whenever you're working creatively, you're working to some sort of brief. Does that make sense? Danielle, does that make sense? And I put it in the assignments. Okay, that little. And by the way, think about your type. when you're designing your page, maybe move your type around. You don't want to design a really cool page and go, oh crap, I don't have anywhere for the type. Like that little block where I blocked out that foreground audience, that could be a nice little spot for type. But then I gotta either put it all together on one page or I gotta throw it off on the other page. I like it on the other page because it kind of says this, and then she does not want you to bring alligator, so it emphasizes. That's why I did it that way. Okay? Okay, you guys?
Right.
Okay, then I'm gonna see you Monday on time with all your stuff. Yeah?
Sounds good.
Don't care if it's digital, don't care if it's pen, don't care if it's pencil, don't care if it's on. And by the way, if you do it in your sketchbook, just take a decent cell phone picture of it and upload that. Okay?
So like a total of 20 panels?
If that's 4 per page. If it was me, I do 150 panels. When I say 5 pages, that means 35 pages. This is easy. This part's easy. I mean, the ideas are, but whatever it comes out to, at least 4 panels per page. So if that comes out to that, fine. 5 pages, at least 4 panels per page. You can do more panels, and that's fine. Never going to fault you for doing more work. Okay? Do as many as it takes to find a great idea. Okay? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. If you have any questions, buzz me. Text me, go through here. I'll put up a discussion board too, and it's just going to be for everything. Okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
All right, I'll see you Monday.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
I'm
Thank
excited.
you.
I wanna see you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.